Have you ever promised yourself something and then quietly broken that promise only a day later? Not because you stopped caring, and not because the goal suddenly became impossible. But because something inside you seemed to pull you back toward the person you had been yesterday. I've been wondering about that lately. We often call it a lack of discipline, but maybe that's only the surface of what's happening. What if discipline feels difficult, not because we're weak, but because every meaningful change asks us to spend a little while becoming someone who still feels unfamiliar? Today, I don't want to talk about productivity or success. I simply want to sit with why the beginning of discipline feels so uncomfortable, and what that discomfort might quietly reveal about the way our minds work. One of the more interesting things about the human mind is that it doesn't always chase what's best. It often chases what's familiar, even when the familiar isn't making us happy. There's a certain safety in repeating yesterday, even if yesterday wasn't ideal. So when we decide to change something, it can be surprisingly ordinary. A promise to wake up a little earlier, to take care of your body, to spend less time escaping into distraction. Whatever the promise is, something inside us often resists it. We're not only changing a behavior, we're interrupting a pattern our mind had quietly accepted as normal. And the mind responds the way it responds to anything unfamiliar, with resistance. Not because change is dangerous, but because uncertainty always feels slightly uncomfortable, which raises a strange question. If the resistance isn't really about the task, what is it actually protecting? We often imagine discipline as a battle, a stronger version of ourselves forcing a weaker version to obey. But I'm not sure that's what it feels like in real life. Most days, it feels more like a quiet negotiation. One voice says, "We should probably do this." Another whispers, "Tomorrow would be easier." Neither voice is irrational. One is protecting our future. The other is protecting our comfort right now. And comfort has a very persuasive argument because it speaks in the language of immediate relief. The psychologist B.F. Skinner spent years studying this exact pattern. Which means discipline is often asking us to choose something whose reward hasn't arrived yet. That's a difficult negotiation for any mind to have with itself. And it might explain something we rarely admit out loud. Imagine planting a young tree. Some mornings, you might even wonder whether watering it is making any difference at all. For weeks, almost nothing appears different. Every morning it looks much the same as it did the day before. Eventually, it's tempting to wonder whether anything is happening at all. Yet beneath the surface, growth has already begun. I sometimes think discipline feels similar. Not because progress is absent, but because the earliest signs of change often happen somewhere we can't yet see. And perhaps that's what makes the beginning so difficult. The mind naturally trusts what it can observe. Discipline quietly asks us to continue, even while the evidence is still invisible. But maybe there's another layer beneath even that. Here's something worth sitting with. Imagine someone who's been going to the gym consistently for 3 weeks. A friend asks, "Have you been working out?" And without quite meaning to, they say, "A little. I'm not really a gym person, though." The behavior has already changed. The identity hasn't caught up yet. And in that gap, something interesting happens. The old identity keeps speaking, even while the new behavior is already underway. The philosopher Aristotle described character as something built, not through insight, but through repeated doing. So maybe discipline feels difficult because we're standing between two versions of ourselves, neither fully gone, neither fully established. That's an uncomfortable place to live. It's also where the resistance is strongest. It's something smaller and somehow deeper. The feeling that arrives just before the effort begins. The hesitation before opening the laptop, the pause before walking into the gym, that gap between deciding and doing. It's strange how often the hardest part isn't the work itself. It's starting while still feeling uncertain. Viktor Frankl once wrote, "I keep wondering whether discipline quietly grows inside that same space, not after motivation arrives, but before it does." I sometimes wonder whether discipline has less to do with becoming stronger and more to do with becoming someone we slowly begin to trust again. Because every promise we quietly keep changes something that's difficult to measure. Not our achievements, our relationship with ourselves. Every kept promise says, "Maybe I can believe myself this time." Every broken one changes that conversation too, day after day. Discipline may have less to do with controlling behavior and more to do with rebuilding a relationship. So maybe discipline feels hard at first because the first challenge was never physical. It's the quiet experience of leaving behind a version of ourselves that still feels familiar before the new one feels real. Maybe that's why the beginning feels so uncertain. We're standing in a space where the old identity no longer fits, but the new one hasn't yet become believable. I don't know if discomfort is a sign we're moving in the right direction. I don't think it's always a sign we're moving in the wrong one either. Maybe it's simply what it feels like to remain in that space, long enough for something inside us to change. Not dramatically, quietly, almost invisibly. And perhaps discipline isn't really asking us to become someone different. Maybe it's only asking whether we're willing to stay with the person we're already becoming, even before we recognize them ourselves. Thank you for spending these few minutes thinking with me. If these reflections give you a different way of looking at everyday life, you're welcome to stay. This is DS Perspective.